Crimea has been a part of Russia for nearly as long as the United States has existed. That is until 1954, when the first secretary of the Communist Party in the USSR, Nikita Khrushchev, made the unpopular decision to hand Crimea over to Ukraine. Years of oppression under a foreign communist government led to increased tensions within the Crimean territory. And Russian-speaking Ukrainians were treated like second-class citizens and forced to abandon their customs and their native tongue. Tensions erupted in 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed and Ukraine became an independent state. In the years that followed, the people of Crimea became more divided between those that supported the European Union and those on the side of the Russian Federation. When President Viktor Yanukovych abandoned the European trade agreement in favor of a Russian alliance, those that wanted stronger ties with the EU rebelled and stormed Kiev. With the support of the United States, the rebels were able to overthrow the government. They forced the president out of office and out of the country, and with the blessing of the UN, became the ruling party in Crimea.
Украина только для украинцев.
Large portions of the population, including the former president, reached out to Russia for support, overthrowing the rebels that had taken control of Crimea. Russia had helped the people of Crimea hold a democratic election, and an overwhelming majority of the population voted to break away from Ukraine and rejoin Russia. The Russian military quickly moved in to secure Crimea, establishing law and order within the territory. The United Nations, NATO, and the US have all refused to accept that the autonomous Republic of Crimea could possibly hold a fair and democratic election. They banded together on the side of Ukraine and have declared the election results were illegitimate and should be ignored, that the popular vote of the Crimean people amounted to nothing more than a violent takeover spearheaded by the Russian government. But poll after poll have shown the locals of Crimea, Ukrainians, ethnic Russians, and Tatars alike all agree that their lives under Russian rule have been much better than under the former Ukrainian regime. These actions in Crimea have raised tensions in the area to a boiling point, leading to an all-out civil war in Ukraine, and what amounts to nothing less than ethnic cleansing. The ethnic Russians are being driven out of Western territories, their homelands, pushed to the borders of eastern Ukraine. There, the pro-Russian separatists in Donetsk and Luhansk voted to declare their independence from Ukraine and have asked to join Russia. Russia respected the outcome of this democratic election and offered to help oversee a peaceful transition of power. But the results have been condemned and declared illegitimate by the West, with tensions and anger rising on both sides. The people living in Ukraine, Crimea, and the Donbas region have found themselves in the midst of a civil war, each accusing each other of carrying out acts of terror on one another. Every single American that enjoys the freedoms that our democracy provides should understand that declarations of independence often do lead to mistakes, tense standoffs, and even violent wars. As this conflict continues, we should recognize the importance of letting other countries use the power of the democratic process to decide their own fate.